Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I have a little story for y'all. There's a saying, when you live in glass house, do not throw stones. You know what that saying means? Let me give you a little story. Story time with myself. You know, there's this person, young, beautiful. You know, most of the time you're young, you're so beautiful because you're in your youth. You look so good, fixing up yourself. Yeah, but here you are, always talking mess about things that you make up about married people, married young people. And I believe the person did that because they were jealous. They were young and they weren't married. And when you're young and you're knocking here and you're knocking there and you ain't married, but you see a young person who married, the jealousy do kick in because some women wonder to themselves, oh, how she get married and I can't even get man to marry me that kind of way. But just when you're young, you have opportunities, whether young or old, to still get married if you want to. If you want to is the key word there. But some people they want to get married young, but no one, the type people they fool with just only want to use them, use their time, use their body up. Ain't really mean them no good, things like that. But it's quite understandable, especially if you sweethearting a preacher. And the Bible is clear. I tell you, everybody who say, Lord, Lord, ain't get into the kingdom. You sweethearting the preacher. So you sweethearting the preacher. How you gonna get married? He already married. He can't marry you. But then you want to throw stones at people who are married. It always, you look at them. It always, the people who throwing stones for no reason, like the person don't have to do them nothing, are always the dirty people, always the people who doing all the wrong. See, they got to move the spotlight off of themselves and put the spotlight on you. You see? And the only way to put spotlight on you, they don't know nothing about you, so they got to make up a story. They got to make up a story. And when they make up a story, they so cunning, people tend to believe what they make up as if the person know you. You understand? But God have a way of exposing you in the worst light. You ever see that? What you do in the dark comes to light. Hello? In the worst light. So there was this person who fit this bill. Right? And boy, look here. This is my story I tell him, but I just tell it in this way. A few, like about a year later, everything hit the fan. The situation of how sweethearting the preacher come out and broke up the whole church. But ain't no zip on people like me lip. Because when you come for me, you better have your I dot and your T's cross, eh? They call it the T cross and the I dot. So I did put them in their place and tell them about it. How I know that was going to be something that came to pass, I didn't. I just speak what was told to me to speak, and I did. And sure enough, it came. That was a big stink. Back in the day, how they broke up the whole church, sweethearting the man. And to cover shame, the only thing they could do is, years later, marry the man. But then you say you preach, and the Bible say, if you can't contain yourself, this in colloquial terms, if you can't contain yourself, be ye reconciled to your wife, as Christ is to the church. See, I grew up in Pentecostal church. So in my belief of growing up in fake temple Pentecostal church is that, you know, if you married a man who divorced, he caused you to sin according to the Bible. You and him is living in sin because he's divorced. And if you saying you as a Christian, you're actually living in sin because you married a divorced man. If he couldn't contain himself, he had to be reconciled to his wife as Christ is to the church. That's in the Bible. So if you saying you preaching, who you could preach to, and the first wife still alive, and use the second wife according to man, not to God. Okay? See, what used to happen back in the Old Testament, when the New Testament come, that become the new law. When you have an old law in a country, and they bring a new law, that old law don't exist no more. You see, they don't want to preach that. They so prosperity preaching, they don't want to preach that. So that means, yeah, Abraham then might have had a couple of wives, or whoever might have had a couple of wives in the Bible, right? Back in the Old Testament. But when the New Testament, which is the new law, came, that was changed. You had to be reconciled to your wife as Christ is to the church. Okay? They don't want to preach that because a lot of pastors are married twice. And their first wife is not dead. The only way you could marry and not live in sin if your first wife is not dead. If your first wife is alive, because you was one sweetheart and living this life, who you can preach to? I don't care if you don't like what I say. The truth is the truth. You ain't gonna preach to me. Not to me. Yeah, but plenty of them you will there. I won't be need to go darken the church because where 2 or 3 are gathered this church. Hello. I don't need to pay you $500 to sit in your pew in here. Hello. And I need to pay my light bill. Hello. Get it right. Oh, God said 10%. That's the old law. The new law came into being with that too. And the new law said, give unto the Lord as thy heart desirous. He didn't say you got to bring $10,000. He didn't say you got to bring this and that. And if you help somebody, the least you do unto these, my children, you do unto me. Hello, somebody. Get it right. Get it right. But they ain't want to touch that subject. They ain't want to touch that subject. They living in sin. And they cause whoever they married to live in sin. But anyhow, they most of the time were sweethearting the person anyhow. That's why they could get married and talk about living. Because your wife have to be dead. Or your husband have to be dead for you to marry without it being a sin. The old law in the New Testament do not apply. And the Old Testament do apply. The New Testament law is the law that apply because it overrides the Old Testament laws. Hello, somebody. Get it right. They don't want to touch that subject. They don't want to touch that subject. Be focused. Read and learn for yourself. Be focused.